I do know.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Good morning and welcome to the Portsmouth Coffee Talks morning show. My name is James Lim Overton, and I'm here with my co-hosts Leah Drake Stitt and Thomas the Colonel Chapman. Good morning.
Good
Co-hosts. How
morning.
you
Good
doing?
morning.
Good morning.
What a dry morning so far.
Yes.
It's been like a rainy season here the last few days. I guess you can say, I guess we might have needed some of that
Yes.
rain, but I mean, storms. One thing about the summer storms, I mean, they hit and quit, don't they? I mean,
They do.
Yeah.
They
you don't
do.
get those all day things. You'll get the
Mm-mm.
thunderstorm, they'll come, and then the sun comes out, and then you get out and you bring your grill out and everything. Here comes another storm.
Yeah.
So you have to, when you get those little runs, you have to be careful if you're planning something for outside. Just pay attention to what the weather reports say and trust
Mhm.
and believe in them. So how was your weekend so far?
It was good. Actually talking about the storm. I just got my grass cut and edged up and did the yard. And then the storm came and the clouds opened up and got a chance to jump in the pool to cool off.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Before the
you're
next
so
storm
fortunate.
came by.
You're so
Yes.
fortunate.
Yeah, so it was a good day, as they say.
We were fortunate some of those, a lot of those storms came in the middle of the night while we were
Yeah.
sleeping. Woke me up. So help me
Yeah.
sleep.
It
Leah,
was
what
hot.
about you? I know you've been busy. You're doing a lot
Oh,
of things.
I
So
have
tell us
been,
about that trip that you made to
yeah,
Charlottesville.
to
That was a big
Charlottesville,
deal.
to the Virginia Interscholastic Association, which was the
The black.
organization that all of the 115 Black high schools,
Mhm.
that was the umbrella under which they had their sports and arts, and all of our activities fell under the VIA until 1969 and integration. And then it was changed into, it merged it into the Virginia High School League. But it was the organization that we played all of our sports through until 1969. And it was really good attending that event, in as much as before 1969, there were 115 historically Black high schools in Virginia. And now there are only 3, and
Okay,
that's
what
Norcom, Norfolk, and Dunbar.
we'll talk it.
So, so it it was a good visit, and they really laid a lot of accolades on Norcom, since we are one of the few that's still in existence and have remained a high school throughout these changes that have taken place. So it was good. And so we joined the association while we were there, because this would give us an opportunity to nominate individuals from Norcom who excelled in sports or in academics or in whichever arena. And these individuals, not only are they putting them in the Hall of Fame, but it's being archived on the campus of Virginia State University. So that means we're preserving history. And I like the fact that now they're preserving the history of those individuals and those schools that existed during that time period before integration. So it was a nice visit.
Yeah, and there's still hope for me, since you're
Oh, there's
winning.
still hope for you, James.
Yes,
We can
hope for me.
nominate you on the next
but
go round.
But you know what I want to know too, and it's good that association still meets. Does does the state recognize the state championships that were made during those times? When they combine that, just like the Negro League, baseball league,
Yes,
when they
yes,
combine with the
yes.
National League, and I think just recently they made sure that those records that were made in the Negro League is recognized. But
Right,
in the
right.
beginning, it just sort of wiped all that out. You know, what about with this? I mean,
James, that's an excellent question, and one that I really need to research. I don't know if the state continues to recognize those individuals, or are they just recognized through the Virginia Interscholastic Association? So
Mhm.
it is something that I would definitely need to have to check on.
yeah, since they have an organization that's still, and like I didn't know that until I saw your post, which
Mm-hmm,
is good. That's something that they could. They're probably already working on to make sure that I don't know if it needs to be recognized separately or
mm-hmm.
mixed in. I would like to see it recognized separately, along with what's happened since that,
since
because
since
I
it
know
was.
they still have their records before they
Mm-hmm.
combine, the whole thing. And it was a lot of amazing championships during those days. And you talked
Really.
about really competition.
Mm,
Just think about it. You mentioned 100 and some schools, and a lot of them played each other.
exactly.
And just think of the talent, because when you think about Norcom, everybody from Portsmouth at one time was at Norcom, so
Mm-hmm,
they had to
mm-hmm,
cut people that probably could make the NBA or
exactly,
the NFL.
exactly. You know,
So you got the
Mhm.
cream of the crop that were
and
on
it was
those teams
and it
competing
was
against.
interesting because when we walked in, one gentleman said, who are you all?" And this lady looked up and she said, "Oh, they are the Norcom Greyhounds," and
Mhm.
and then they immediately started telling us about individuals they felt that we needed to nominate for the Hall of Fame. And of course, I'm sure that you remember Johnny Morrison, who scored 100 points
100
in one
points.
game.
Yeah, over in the Eastern Shore against
Yeah,
Ray.
scored
Ray
100
Smith.
points in one
Yeah.
game. So they said, "Oh, surely you all have to nominate Johnny Morrison." I said, "Oh, girl, we have a plethora of folks that we need to nominate. We have some outstanding athletes from Norcom, as well as those who did well in academia as well. So I'm glad that it's not just sports that they're acknowledging. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's a combination of all. It's just not
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Was it some
Yeah.
of the I don't know, any of the old timers there?
Oh,
I'm
it
sure
was plenty of old timers. It tickles
I
me
know the
because
coaches, most of them
I
are.
went I went with, two younger people. I tend to hang out with the younger people.
Yeah.
And when we got there, I said, "Oh my God, these are older people." And then I looked at myself, I said, "Oh my God, that's my generation."
Mm.
That's what happened when you hang with the young people. You kind of start feeling yourself until you
Yeah.
look at
Yeah,
the
yeah,
crowd and say,
yeah.
"Oh wow, this is these are my people." But
But
that's all good too. But yeah, some of those
yeah,
athletes and things like
yeah,
that, I
it
know
was
that must have
interesting
been interesting.
because one guy from Armstrong, he said, "Oh, I remember when we used to come to play Norcom and we'd have to get on the bus at halftime and head back to school so we could get out of the stadium." So they were really reliving all of the old times and experiences of these schools competing against each other. It was a great event. It was a great event.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Glad I had an opportunity to go.
and I'm glad I got a chance to be a part of both worlds, that part of it, and then when the integration came and we started playing Western Branch, and I talked about that story. Western Branch had a basketball player named George Sweet. Do you remember
Yeah.
him?
Yeah.
Chuck?
I remember him.
The biggest
6'8",
W.
something like that. Yeah.
I'll just say it, the biggest white boy I've seen.
Yeah.
Back, and he said you got to check him. I said, "Oh, goodness." But anyway, but before that happened, we were riding to Richmond to play Maggie Walker and Armstrong and things like that because that's who we had. We had to travel to play, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And but then when they combined, most of our games were local against
Mm-hmm.
Western Branch, D Creek, Indian River, which in the beginning we used to just wipe the floor with them because
Uh-huh.
they weren't used to five brothers. They might have one, but we had five or 13, I might say. So
Yeah, yeah.
even coming off the bench. So that was interesting, So yeah, I hope at one is it an annual thing that they
Yeah,
do?
every year they nominate people for the Hall of Fame. So we'll be able to nominate some individuals from Norcom High School
Mhm.
for the next Hall of Fame banquet that takes place.
Yeah,
And they're
maybe
archiving all this information, which I really like.
Yeah.
The fact that they're
maybe that's
archiving it, on the campus of Virginia State, because Virginia State was the college that host the VIA
mhm.
and kept all the VIA records. So it was great. It was a great event.
Yeah, it's
I,
almost like the Veterans League for the other sports, like for baseball when they started looking at Satchel Paige and some of the other guys that never made, because of segregation, couldn't play against the white players.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
they had records, and so they're now intertwining them.
Yeah, yeah.
And I might add, my first taste of being on the campus of Virginia Union was when we went there every year to play Maggie Walker. Maggie Walker didn't have a gym, had a
Exactly.
huge
Exactly.
building, classroom, but they did not have a gym, so they played in Union's gym. So it gave me a taste of my future.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just had to add that. So we can move on. But I saw that, Leah, and I thought that was quite interesting. I'm
Yeah,
glad you
I
got
was
the opportunity to go and be a part of that and
right,
to
right.
talk to us about that.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it.
Great experience.
Yeah. So what's going on in the political world, chap? That national wise, I can bring up some things with your girl Taylor Green, but you know, you might. I
I
mean,
have to
she's
shake
even
my head.
saying that
Yes.
we are involved in the coup over in Russia,
Yeah.
trying
Well,
to impeach Biden, and you know, is she doing any other work though? That's
No
my
work at
they are
all.
not doing it. That whole party is not doing a thing other than
the bees on the floor.
yeah, just trying to make headlines to keep people distracted from what they're not doing, what they promised they're doing. They're not doing that thing. You
Mhm.
know, we looked at we're gonna have in October 1, you're gonna have to pass a budget
Yeah.
to do all those appropriations. They haven't done a thing. They really don't know how to
Yeah,
because they have not
everybody was
governed
talking about
in
it
so
leading up to
long
that.
other than try to obstruct. They have no clue on what to do. And then so I believe that they'll probably pass a CR continuing resolution to get by everything, but they won't
Mm-hmm.
pass a budget at all because one, if they come around with those cuts, they have to spell out what cuts they want.
Exactly.
And so that'll never happen because they won't try to cut down, say, a road or a building that nobody's going to occupy in their district. And then how do you justify cutting when you don't want to, you taking tax cuts or tax increases on anything? How do you justify it? And you want to go up on defense spending, but we want to cut social program to the bare bones. And then so they're not even good actors of how to run this country. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, now the big thing with her and her cohort, Boebert from Colorado, who won her election with 438 or so votes, that she'll be gone next time, I hope. Same guy's running against her. You know, they want to expunge, meaning wipe away history of Donald Trump's 2 impeachments. Just a symbolic kind of thing. I don't even think it's not even legal that they can do that. This carries no weight. Why waste time other than to bend at the knee of Donald Trump?
That's all it is.
Yes,
That
bend the
is all
knee.
it is.
And all of them are trying to be there to be his running mate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
To be his running mate. And so since all the indictments, all the news, they don't care. It's always the lowest common denominator. And you know, he went through the this religious convention this weekend and talked all that smack.
Oh,
And,
that was ridiculous.
yeah. And then when the thing on abortion, the topic of abortion, he tried to moderate himself, saying, you know, about consensus and whatever. But the news, even though right-wing news is the only people can cover him and can only ask questions because he won't go before any honest media. Nobody asks, you know, he wants to have a total ban because that's what the religious right wants. So he's moderating. You have to call him out as a liar.
Yeah, it's surprising to me.
There is no moderation in the abortion issue. And we need to throw that out there because right after abortion comes contraception. They want to get rid of that.
Oh, it does. Oh, it does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, be against the law to have contraception.
Yeah.
In your wallet.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a that's funny. It amazes me how, you know, and we talked about this. None of these reporters you know, like you, Colonel. If they were in front of you, you wouldn't let some of those things. And the ones that have challenged them, they will never go to those guys again. But nobody really challenged it. And we sit back here. It makes you want to jump through the screen sometimes. We sit back here and watch them on Fox and even on CNN sometimes saying these things, and nobody challenges you know,
Yes.
what
What's his
they're
name?
saying and how hypocritical they are. They're talking stuff, the same stuff that they were complaining about last year, you know,
Mhm.
against Republicans. And we see a little bit of that locally too, but we might touch on that. But it's just crazy. And I'll never understand why they let these people get away with well, one thing, telling lies or just saying stupid stuff, or nobody's telling, "Hey, what are you doing policy wise? What are you doing about laws?" And they sit there and listen to all that crazy stuff that these two ladies make, and they're getting what they asked for. They're getting the attention they need. I mean,
Mhm.
they want or they need. I'll say they need
Yeah.
by just doing crazy stuff,
Mhm.
and they know the news is going to follow the crazy stuff.
Right. For instance, when they talk to Trump, anybody that he always talks about himself in the third person.
He
He
does.
says, well, Trump would wants this. Why don't you, if I'm sitting in front of him and says, why are you referring to yourself in the third person? Are you like Sybil or we got 9 crazy lives or something like that? What's wrong with you when you talk about that? Why can't you talk about yourself in the present time?
Mhm.
And then when he puts out a so-called policy, it's just a generalized thing. So you have to go peel the onions back and ask them, how are you going to get it done? And what does that really mean? And they never ask.
Yeah, and you don't have to go in there looking for the aha moments. All you have
Yeah,
to do is sit there and listen to them, and they'll feed you. They'll give you stuff
yeah,
to come back on them with. You don't have to have anything planned. Like I'm gonna catch him with this. You know, just listen to. And the guy, the last reporter that
Brett,
had him,
yeah,
he said
Brett.
that was a blueprint on how to get him.
yeah,
Exactly,
You know, and
exactly.
I say get him. That sounds like aha moments, but all he did was let him talk, and then he had the facts in front of him and say,
Eh,
well,
you
what
got to
about
check
this
him
and what
right
about that?
then.
Yeah,
You have to
and you
check
get
him
him
right
right there,
then.
and he stumbles every time. But that's why I meant he will never go back to that guy's show.
Oh, never.
Yeah,
He's gonna run the Fox, and then if a commentator on Fox, well, that guy is from Fox, right?
yeah,
Fox
Yeah,
News. He was Fox
yeah,
News.
but
I was gonna
he
say
will
he'll
never
run the
get
Fox,
him.
but if one of the reporter gets him, he'll never go to that guy again. He'll find
Right.
Hannity, you know.
And Sean Hannity is not going to check him. They'll just
No,
let him go off crazy. And when he gets ready to get in legal problems, then Sean tries to steer
tries
him
to help.
away from that.
Yeah, and then he
You
still
know,
goes to digs
yeah.
deeper.
So yeah, here's another instance. You know, he made that comment. When I get back in office, and he's not there yet, I'm going to attack China with more what do you call it? More taxes, or what do you call it? I can't think of the word. I had it before me. Whatever, for their imports, I'm going to get more money from them. So they're
It's
just,
like
the Chinese just pass it over back to us. And so what is your policy? Oh, by the way, did the United States get any money for the cost of that wall that you said you built?
Yeah, just
And that you
That
only,
Mexico
check
was
is in
going to
the
pay. The
mail, I
Mexican
guess.
president was
yeah,
going to pay for.
yeah.
Well, the president of Mexico said, no, we're not paying for that.
Not one peso
But
came
his people
across.
still believe him,
Yes.
and he didn't finish.
Well,
But
he really didn't even hardly build any wall per se. They just took a lot of government money and shifted it off to his buddies, and they made a lot of money off the federal government and some of the fools that gave Bannon money and all those other folks money.
And
So
Bannon took all those people's money,
Mhm.
claiming that he was going to do all that work on the wall, and he
Yeah.
pocketed all of that money. But it's amazing that they can't see where their money is going. That's the thing that amazed me. You know, when it's shown to them that these people are promising you something, but you're not getting anything,
Yeah.
they continue to give. I just can't. I guess it's the Jim Jones effect.
Yeah.
You know, those folks who followed him to Guyana,
Mhm.
and drank the Kool-Aid,
Here's something. Somebody made a point about, and this will go to those guys that were on the submarine and God bless
Yes.
them, they lost their lives. But
Mhm.
how people in the United States think somehow people with money, just because they have money, they have a whole lot of sense. And
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
not always the case. You might have been a genius or good in accumulating that money, but that doesn't mean you know everything about everything.
Mhm.
And sometimes we in America tend to think people that have money or that we think have money, like Trump,
Mhm.
are the smartest people in the world. And
Exactly.
these
Exactly.
guys on the submarine went against everything that the expert, and that goes back to these guys on the left, on the right, never want to listen to experts, people who have gone to school for 10 years, some of them, to, be uh, experts in their field, and they don't want to listen to them. Man, you go down in that thing, you can be crushed like a sardine can. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
no, we know what we're doing.
Mhm.
I'm so confident. I'm gonna take my son. Your son is gone too.
Yeah. Well, they're anti-education. Oh, by the way, the word I was looking for is tariffs on China.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
Increase
Yes.
the tariffs.
sir.
So I had a brain cramp.
I bet
there.
he doesn't even know what that means.
Yes. So yeah. So they're anti-education. That's why you see the Republican, these state attorney generals in these states, all in red states with low education levels, have challenged Joe Biden's program for debt relief for education. All of them have. Well, there's 19 of them. And then so they also want to start this, and Youngkin also has already passed a resolution, a executive order dumbing down state jobs. So if it required a 4-year degree, BA, BS, or whatever, you don't need that. They're saying your work qualification. I can hire Jane from the who's a waitress, for an example, for that same job that used to require a BS or BA.
Mm.
Dumbing down and basically destroying state government.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time that he is gone, they would have passed the period where I can easily get you out of the system. And then we'll be stuck with that Jane running a program, a multi-million-dollar program with probably doesn't even have a GED, and being head of, say, the education department for the state of Virginia. That's what they want to do.
Mm.
Dumb everything down.
Yeah.
And they want to
Yeah.
do that nationally. So what do you think? So you have somebody that graduated high school, and you call in the IRS and want to get an example to ask a question about your tax return, and she don't have a clue. Don't have a clue.
Well, it's the dumbing down of America. So
Yes.
that's taking place nationally, locally,
Yeah.
and it's sad,
Yes. It is. It is.
Yeah,
And
and
wait,
what's
James.
even sadder is so many different shows like this that are on that people watch. We were talking about Madison earlier.
Mhm.
It's not that their word is that sacred, but a lot of those people that come on, especially the national guys, they really do their homework, and what they're talking, is something that and all this information is out there, but along with all the good information, it's much more trash out there too.
Exactly.
Mhm. Yeah.
Exactly.
That people tend to gravitate towards that more so than
Mhm.
facts.
And,
That's something
and
that we always bring up.
people take things that they see in social media and they take it to be true. But
Yeah.
even though you see it, you still have to vet it. You still have to go in and check it out and make sure, because you got a lot of stuff that people putting out there that looks good,
Yeah.
but it has no substance to it. So if you
Yeah.
don't check it out, then you go back and you start sharing things that are just not true.
Mhm.
You're part of the problem then as well. So make sure you
No.
check things out.
Right. Slim, you might want to talk about the transition before I get this next point.
Okay, we want to thank all the people on WGPL 1350 AM for listening this morning. We appreciate you, and we'll see you again the next time we're on. Thanks a lot. We appreciate you and take care.
So
All right.
the point I wanted to get across before we go there is I look at Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ted Cruz, and all the people on the right that are in office. They've all run down to the border. Talk about the immigration and folks coming across the border. Those numbers are down.
Yes.
Those numbers are drastically down. But not one of them, they have all of them complain, but not one of them has put a bill out there for immigration reform.
They're not going to do it. That's not their
Not
purpose.
one.
That's not their purpose.
Yeah. And a couple weeks after Joe Biden took office, he put a plan out there and gave it to them. But the problem is nobody on their staff can read anyway because they've dumbed down the staff. And they won't put their own plan out there because with that, they'll be held accountable for the plan that they want to do. So you can get more headlines if I complain and stand on the step stool and say how bad things are.
It's really not about really governing. It's about what can I do that's outrageous so that I can go to my constituents and seek more money from them.
Yes.
I can continue to drain their pockets. So it's
Yeah.
all about how sensational can I be?
Yeah.
And that therefore I can put out a fundraiser on this and have people who are struggling, but still they continue to support these individuals. It's sad. It's a sad
It is sad. They want to support the lowest common denominator.
Exactly.
Yes. And we talk about whitewashing history in a few shows ago. We always talk about that, but the latest one is to whitewash the 2 impeachments of Donald Trump.
Yeah, she wanted to wipe that away. Yeah. They
Yeah.
want to expunge him. Have you ever heard anything like it in your life?
Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. You're gonna pass a resolution, and then anybody that voted for that is saying you shouldn't even be in Congress.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's not going anywhere. Not going anywhere.
All the evidence.
But yet you're going to sanction Schiff for speaking the truth on the floor.
Yeah.
And all that foolishness that they spout on the floor, no one has sanctioned Marjorie Taylor Greene or Bell. What's her name? The one I can never get her name right.
Boebert
or Santos.
Yeah.
But a man get on the floor and speak the truth, and they sanction him for speaking the truth.
Yeah, I know. So when they get, the thing is, when the Democrats get back in power, hopefully in 24, we don't do that kind of foolishness. We actually do governing, pass laws that will help people, and none of this foolishness. Because these are going to be the last, what I call the lost 2 years of America. Because nothing good is going to come out of the Congress that's going to pass the Senate.
Nothing is I'm trying to remember what has come out since they've been in office.
Not a thing. Other than the debt ceiling bill that they didn't like.
With some policy, people might say, "Oh man, that's boring," but I'd rather be bored and know that something's being done than entertained with nothing being done. You can get entertainment from just going outside and counting birds flying by. I know that sounds crazy, but we need something. They need to show us something that they're doing, and you have to blame a lot of the people, the voters that are so uninformed that put those people there. They have to for them to be there. They had to get a lot of votes from a lot of people that put them there. And I know when they were running, they probably were talking just as crazy. They didn't all of a sudden get in Congress and go crazy. They've been crazy the whole time. And
people they gerrymandered those districts so that those people be there forever, unless a new group of people come into their districts or a new census. But that's before they do any redrawing. That's how many more years we got to wait to have the lines redrawn. Is it?
Yeah, 10 years.
10
every
years.
10 years.
Yeah.
10 years before the
That
lines
last
can be
census,
redrawn.
they didn't take under consideration that we were in the middle of a pandemic and say, okay, we need to, extend this thing to the next year. I know it's every 10 years, but the pandemic just, sort of made this census information and results not be what it should be. And they said, no,
That's what they knew.
we're gonna go with what we got.
That's why they ran with what they had, so they can run
Yeah,
the funds
and,
the way they wanted to run them,
it's not a true picture of what the census is supposed to pick up, what kind
Exactly.
of information it's
Right.
supposed to provide. It wasn't a true picture of it.
But
But it
you
worked in their
mentioned-
favor.
Yeah,
Worked in their favor.
redrawing those lines is still going to be hard in 2030.
Yes.
Because probably those state governments, if the Republicans still own the state governments, they'll still put out gerrymandered lines. So the only way to get that is federal legislation that causes them to change those lines, to make it equitable and to make them competitive, one. And then we need a court system, just not the judicial system below it, but we need to get rid of some of these people on the Supreme Court that believes in America and that will rule correctly and according to the law, and not this originalist thing that the Trump has put in and the Republicans have put in, because that's the new words that they want to use, being originalist. And I look at the Constitution, how it was written way back then, when we were when we were a
We
slave.
were not even included.
Yeah. And then so they want to go back to the original text, but the Constitution was made as a living and breathing document that changes over time. And that's the only reason that's how progress has been made. And they don't want to make progress. They want to go back to the good old days.
Yeah, and, I believe in the two-party system, or even if it's a third party, but it takes a while people to get a third party really established where you can you can come in there and do some damage and hurt somebody, but the two-party system is good. It's a good checks and balances for us to have two different sides, but it's turned into a clown show.
Yeah.
on one
Yes.
side. And
has.
as opposed to something that's supposed to help the public, giving the public a choice, or you can go with this ideology or that one, and but still, when you had the two-party system, you still had those two parties kind of working together and compromising on certain things, and the public or the citizens benefited in many cases from that. But when you got some people that are so headstrong, it's my way or the highway, then a lot of people suffer. A lot of people suffer, and those, like we always say, the people suffering are those people that put them in there in the first place.
Exactly.
And
And
we
they
got
and they can't see it. That's the sad part about it.
Just ride around and enter the major cities and see the people laying out in the street. America, nobody should be laying out in the streets. I mean, just especially, I never understand all the money to spend for you to get in office, but we got people laying out in the street, and not all those people out there. They'll make an argument, well, no, but they should be. They made a choice to be out there. All those people made choices out there. There's a lot of mental health people out there that have no other choice. And some people lose stuff, and that's where they end up. But to ride around and see people out on the street like that, and we one of the richest countries in the world, but we don't have the money for these programs, but we got money to give to these suckers to run for office, and a lot of them lose. Then where's that money?
Yeah.
And a lot of them take that money and it's in their pocket. I mean,
Exactly.
it's kind of campaign fund reforms, but we don't know exactly how all that works. Certain things they report, certain things they can keep for themselves. On the national level, it seems like they can keep a lion's share of it. Am I correct? Or
Well,
what do you know
if
about that?
I run a campaign and I collect hundreds of millions of dollars, in the case of Trump, I collect hundreds of millions of dollars. And if I lose, that is basically, I can keep that to the side, and everything I do now is a campaign
Related.
and it's related to that. And so I write it off against that pot of money. So say when, if, for instance, when he went to be charged for the last indictment down there in Florida, they spent all that money going down there to the courthouse, and then he went back to his and did a campaign event that same day. So he writes off the whole thing. It's crooked. It's crooked.
Very
And
much so.
yeah, and if you look at we're talking about the Supreme Court, look at Clarence Thomas and Alito, how they are bought and paid for by this billionaire. They're taking these jets across the country, what's going to cost $100,000 just for the transportation, and giving these high-end vacations across, over decades. Clarence Thomas' mother lives in a house that the billionaire bought and lets her live in it, rent-free, takes care of everything, so Clarence, mother can live in it. And then they get a nephew that he says, oh, I'm paying for his tuition because I want to help somebody on the way up. And you can look at his history, he's never helped anybody. But all of a sudden he wants to help one of Clarence Thomas's kids, family members.
Yeah.
Bought and sold. Bought and sold. This is the most corrupt Supreme Court we've ever had.
Why would a Chief Justice need help with one of their family members?
Yeah.
And I know they don't make all the money in the world, but he's been on there a long time. They make enough money to take care of their kids and other people's kids. And why would you even accept something like that?
Well, when you look at the history of he and his wife, you understand why.
Yeah.
It's greed. It all boils down to greed,
What my question is, why hasn't the Justice Department, Merrick Garland, Chicken Man, who's chicken of the Republicans, why haven't they investigated this, especially for tax fraud?
Yeah, it's off the front pages now. So
yeah, they should have I would have somebody, they need to be investigated for what they did, because one, they're supposed to just disclose it, which is illegally that he didn't. And then so you lied on a federal form. That's the same thing as Hunter Biden lied for 2 weeks. It was only 2 weeks on that gun thing when he got a gun for 2 weeks, and he got rid of it in 2 weeks. That the right is playing up that he has a sweetheart deal. But you got Clarence Thomas and Alito that has gotten hundreds, well, we don't even know into the millions of dollars of tax-free money illegally, and probably turned or looked at some of the laws and cases that were before them that they should have reclused themselves, but I ruled in favor of them.
I mean, just look at it, man. What is the president of the United States son going to get? I mean, were you surprised? I mean, I wasn't surprised that he got a deal like that. The way the country is structured, he's the president of the United States, and his son and kids gonna get off like that, just like Trump's kids are walking around here now.
But James, really, when you look at
I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying.
No, but when you really look at the offense that he's accused of, if he was not the president's son, it would have gone away.
Yeah.
Nothing would have happened. Do you hear me?
Yeah. All that happened, when they're talking about influence, Joe Biden was out of office.
Yeah.
He was out of office. That is no difference. Actually, that is no difference from Jared when Trump's out of office. Soon as he got out of office, Jared got a $2 billion check from the Saudis that they had set up for all the work, and probably because the Saudis got to look at all those plans that he had down in Mar-a-Lago.
And Leah,
I wish we had a direct connection to that.
You're correct. And what I said goes both ways. I mean,
yeah.
Get a sweetheart deal, or if it wasn't him,
the man was on drugs. He bought a gun. I mean, that would have. You can get a local attorney. He would have gotten him off of that. He would have been free. You get one of our local guys. You know. nothing would have happened, you know.
Yeah,
They
but
had to do something,
the-
but for them, that's not enough. But, you know, my point is that they can scream and talk about that, but not say a word about Clarence Thomas. And it shouldn't even be about party, you know, when you break the law. And some Democrats too might turn their head to some things a Democrat might do. But
Yeah.
if it's a law broken, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, it shouldn't be. It should be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It's not
So-
always.
Saying that, I just thought about it. So you had a investigator, a Trump investigator, investigating for the last, say, 3-4 years, just on one person.
Cost
a
billions of
citizen.
dollars.
Yes, cost millions of dollars. He's been collecting a check, a nice check for all this time,
And that's
all
all they can come
expenses
up with.
paid, and come up with basically nothing. Where's the outrage in that?
Yeah, if you investigate anybody in Congress that long, you're gonna come
Yeah.
up with something.
Nobody gets investigated. Hunter got investigated longer than Hillary did,
He did.
or Clinton. They always have special investigators for a Democrat. That also comes up blindly, comes up with nothing. Where is the problem with that? Why didn't America see through this? What I'll say myself. Let me give the disclosure. The views stated on this program are just the host this time. So I'll use the word, they come up with a bunch of crap. My opinion.
My opinion.
Yes. If you don't like it, call me out.
But don't you think it's interesting how when you think about the justices and what they're doing, and we have this major Justice Department, no one was able to uncover all of this stuff. It took the news reporters. And look at everything that we find out about is through the investigation of the news reporters who go out there and do the work, you know.
Yes.
But nothing from our Justice Department is able to pull any of this stuff together.
Yeah.
Something's wrong with that picture as well.
Yes. I know. It's a shame. Shame.
Like
And
that's
you're correct.
shame on you.
Go on, James. I'm singing now.
Singing it.
Yes.
So what about locally? Well, it's been kind of quiet the last few weeks, but still, did y'all get that article I sent you about the
Yeah.
assessment?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. Well, let me get back to when talking about locally. I said the voting rate in the city of Portsmouth was 9%. Actually, it was 15%.
Thank you. Yeah.
It was, which is still one of the lowest. Actually, the other cities in the Tri-Cities were even lower than Portsmouth. So if we come out in 15% in Norfolk, the Senate will be blown away and the House will be blown away. The Republicans will have unified government. And then so for anything that's good for the state, it's not going to happen. So you'll see women's rights, any kind of rights or be turned around
Yeah.
after November, because if we show up at that 15%,
So
it's going to be a shame. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Maybe since we were much better than the other cities, that maybe that would be a reflection going into November that we'll be much better, because I think traditionally you're lower, maybe not that low,
Primary.
but primaries are much lower. And maybe our message got out a little bit more to our people than the city, even though 15% is not nothing to scream about, but hopefully that'll carry on to a higher percentage in November, because, you know, typically more people come out in November, pay attention, and hopefully the message will get out, the messaging will get out like it did. Don't have to send all those mailers out. I mean, you know, I think, you know, people want to see you and hear
Yeah.
it out of your mouth. You know, those 25 mailers a day, I guess that's good. Somebody advised them that's the way you get to the people. But after a while, you just go to the mail and so then you don't even read it.
I don't even
That's
read them.
true.
Don't even read them.
And you're
And that's
bombarded with
that's a
that
lot of
stuff,
money right there. Spend the money on places like this where you can actually talk to the people.
Hmm.
You want to, yeah, to pay social media places like the What's the Coffee Talk. If you want to spend all that money on mailers,
Hmm.
I think you reach a lot more people that way, and people can actually see it coming out of your mouth. Sometimes the stuff on print is no more worth than it than
Yeah.
what they say the paper is written on.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, but
And
that's
whole
my
and more
advice.
town hall meetings.
Yeah, more
And
town
just
hall
not
meetings.
in like Trump does and the Republicans do. They'll do a town hall meeting with just their people. And then so that audience that have like minds, but you have to have town hall meetings where you have the opposition or the other party so you can really sit down and discuss policy and
Yeah.
what you want to do. But that
Yeah.
doesn't happen.
The mail will be played out because most people getting most of their information, the bills and everything online. And anything that comes through their mail, they just, not even
Yeah.
paying attention
Goes
to
in
it.
the recycling bin.
Yeah. So at some point you got to realize that. And every day I saw that, I said, well, look at all this money every day.
Yeah.
And I know how that stuff costs. And I
Mhm.
know it costs a lot more now because we just sent out, when I was doing, we just sent out one mailer and that thing took a big chunk out of our budget. And they
Mhm.
send it out
Mhm.
mailers every day, you know. But anyway, that's that. But what did y'all think about, I mean, that article and it's pretty much explained what was going on all those years. And we kind of touched on it, pretty much, but this was a real explanation of what happened. And it looked like some deal was made right at that assessor's office, and it wasn't picked up by anybody else, like you said, Colonel, which it should have been.
Right.
Somebody
So
higher up, or they did see it, and then it was something that was done, like she said, it's something that's done, but it wasn't policy.
right. So to refresh those who don't know what we're talking about is we're talking about in the city of Portsmouth where certain country clubs or certain businesses got tax breaks so they don't have to pay taxes, city taxes, for sometimes even decades. And it's nowhere out there to say this had been done and who signed off on it or whatever. And because we need investigations with that. So that's summarize that. So, but I think that the city attorney and the assessor's office need to do a complete overhaul and look at every business and entity out there that is on the books as far as should be paying taxes, and look at all those past agreements and just eliminate them if it's legally to eliminate, unless they have it in statute or in law. Meaning, I came here and you said, if my business comes here, you give me a tax abatement for 5-10 years, then that's okay. It's not okay, but that for that period, it's set in law. We did that, and make sure the city council blesses off if the that's just a private deal between the assessor's office and the planning commission, and the city manager signed off, but city council needs to sign off on that so we can hold people accountable. And yeah.
I think what happened is comes down to a matter of interpretation of what the policy is for open space. There's a policy about open space in order to save or preserve open space, that if you have a business or something that has that kind of open space, trees, land, and all that stuff, you can get a certain amount of breaks from your taxes. And the interpretation does that golf course fall under that policy about open space, and that's where, yeah, that's where the gray matter is. And that's what's going to come up when you do the investigation. And that's what they're looking for, that agreement. And that's why
Right.
it didn't go past. Now, it should have gone to the planning commission because open space falls under the planning department and the planning commission. But that's going to be the defense. And that's what's missing. That paperwork that's defined, why they gave them the open space, because it showed several different assessors did the same thing. They interpreted, even the last one that brought it up said something about the interpretation of open space and who's allowed to get the tax break from open space. Now that's on the books, but should a golf course be allowed, a golf course that's making that much money, profit,
Mhm.
be allowed to get the tax break on open space? Usually open space is something that's not really generating income like that, but it's protected if you're making some kind of income from taxes.
So you're
That's what you're
saying,
gonna see.
yeah, so
Come
if I have a farm, or actually if I have a residence and I got these trees out there in my yard, do I qualify? Is it interpretation that I don't have to pay my real estate taxes anymore?
You probably can go there, but if you are selling that timber, and you're making a profit off it,
No,
you
no, I don't want to
probably-
sell the tenor. I just want to keep the trees.
and that only happens when you cut them down. It takes what 50
Yeah.
years for them to grow
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, but no,
But,
I'm not. That's on my
I'm just-
residence though.
I'm just guessing on that part.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if that falls under. That's why it's a issue with the golf course, because they're private, and I don't know if that falls. That applies to you as a private citizen.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but that you have to look into that. But I know
Yeah.
it's something on the books about open space that allows for tax breaks to
So it's
protect
time to
that open
repeal
space,
that.
to keep something from being built there.
Yeah.
That's why.
It's time to repeal that and
Yeah.
then renegotiate that.
Yeah. So
Repeal it, and
so
they don't
golf
have a
courses
leg to
can't be a
stand
part of
on.
it. Yeah. So I think the way it is written now, golf courses qualify under that. I
Yeah.
don't know, but it's all going to come out. But that's part of what you're going to hear when it comes out.
Mhm.
How they're going to interpret it. City attorney is probably going to come up that, well, what he found out that it is a law in the books that protects the open space
Protects it.
and
Mhm.
and businesses or places like the golf course that have a lot of open space, that they don't want any kind of development to come there. They can't sell it for development. So it's gonna come out. And like you said, Colonel, it might have to change the policy
Yeah.
to cut out.
Wait,
Right
yeah.
now, they
Or come up with a better
clear.
definitive parameter
If you're
of
making
how
so
we
much
interpret
money,
it.
you have to pay taxes anyway.
Yeah.
So much money.
Right.
So right
You gotta
now,
pay
this
something.
covers.
You can keep that open space, could be like, you can't cut it down, but you still gonna have to pay taxes on this land here,
Mhm.
On the raw land like anybody else. Yeah.
just like anybody else.
But that's
Because
one
if you
thing. Even though it's
expand it,
open space,
yeah.
they should be paying taxes, and they were just getting abated back whatever
Yeah.
Yeah.
taxes they
Mhm.
supposed to get
Yeah.
every year.
If that's the case, because he was talking about the real estate taxes. So, we had that issue a couple months ago where the old real estate assessors jacked up everybody's real estate taxes for 25%.
Mhm.
I have yet to see that, and I saw that increase and I sent in my rebuttal. And I have yet to get anything back to say there has been a change back to my old piece. But in my property, I also have a tree. So I can use this as a private entity. On my next time, I'm going to quote unquote, say, yes, this is open space because my whole backyard.
Colonel.
Yeah,
Colonel,
just
No.
because.
it's not gonna work, Colonel.
Well, I know, but just because that's the interpretation of my interpretation of it.
Yeah.
But if you didn't hear anything, I would call them again, especially if you sent something in. I
Yeah,
would call them again and let them tell you that they didn't address it or they did address it, and there was no change. If you sent something in, you should have been, contacted, whether it was
Yeah.
a change or not, one way or another.
Yeah, on the website, I haven't, nothing's changed.
Yeah.
But they should have done, if they were running a efficient office, you let the public know, or who, and when you send something in, I give you an answer.
One thing I thought was interesting about the last assessor that got fired, that he was given credit for bringing up that issue about the golf course not paying the taxes, and like he, saved the day on that. But it wasn't brought up again how he was responsible for all those heights in the citizens assessments,
Mhm.
which was definitely uncalled for.
Yeah,
Mhm.
The people, you can defend a person on one issue
Yeah.
and forget about the other issue and probably the reason he was fired. But just because he brought up that one issue, and that's the issue that you're bringing up, you're applauding this guy, and he was fired because of some things he did on the other end that affect a lot more people,
mhm.
individual citizens, like yourself, Chap.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
a
way it
true
works. I
thing,
mean,
yeah.
it works like that locally, just like we were talking the national stuff.
Mhm. Mhm.
You pick out one issue and go
Exactly.
for that,
Run
and
with it.
forget about other issues that involve that same person. You can't overlook the whole picture.
Yeah,
Just
right.
because
So,
one thing he did agrees with what you're trying to do now.
but to break it down to the citizen, so the taxes that the golf club does not pay has to be passed on to somebody. So we divided it up and
It's
put it
us.
on the backs of everybody, every homeowner in the city. That's
Yeah.
broken down in its lowest common denominator. That's why this is an important issue.
Yeah, it's real important. I saw that. That I hope it doesn't go away, because they would get me and you for back taxes, or they
Yes.
come take our house,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever real estate we own. And so this has to be either they pay the back taxes, or that's gotta end up a city golf course.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And I'm
Exactly.
sure that they'll work out a plan for them to repay, but you can't overlook all those years. And
I have hope with the present city council that that an issue like that can be resolved. The last city council, I know they would just whitewash it and keep going because they had so many members on their last city council that didn't have the bandwidth.
Mhm.
And now that number has shrunk down.
I
Enough
think
said there.
it getting the press it has, and I hope
Yes.
citizens paid attention
Yeah.
and make sure they won't let it die. You
Mhm.
have a
Right.
few up there that are really pushing it,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
they have some issues too. But
Mhm.
appreciate
Yes.
them pushing this particular issue, but I hope they would deal with some other issues as well.
Yes. Yes. All right. We're
We're
at the
winding down.
7:30 hour.
With the
Yeah, we're winding
7:30
down to
hour.
the hour, and we appreciate we always enjoy these conversations between the hosts.
Mhm.
My opinion, I think we should do more of them, uh, and just have more of a topic that we deal with,
Mhm.
and just watch the comments from the people. And I wish that in the future we could have some way of having people. I don't know if that would work out, but call in. But maybe the best way is for people to make the comments and make sure they made the comments. But call in seems sometimes you get some
Yeah.
interesting callers on
Yeah.
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
People
Yes.
that have some really it's some citizens out here that have some really insight on what's going on. And it's good to hear from other people and hear different opinions. But anyway, before we go off, uh, in the month of July, we for some coffee talk, for those watching and listening there, is gonna take a break. Uh, maybe not for the whole month, but we're gonna reassess what we're doing here. Not that we're doing anything wrong, but we just want to make some changes. We've been here for 3 years, and it's time to sort of do some things to spruce up what we do here. And we will be back. And we're going to come back with some, hopefully, like we've been talking about, intro and some interesting things to make sure you know when you hear that particular theme, you know Portsmouth Coffee Talk is coming on. Or whenever
Yeah.
you hear it, you know, oh, that's the Portsmouth Coffee Talk theme. So that's one of our goals to do that. And we're going to come together and come back. We're going to look at our analytics and see if I said that right. We're going to look at that and see what our most popular shows were and try to concentrate on, you know, what you are most interested in watching.
And
So,
James, and also it may
yeah.
be a good time when we're on this hiatus is to have individuals to come onto your page or my page and indicate if there are areas in which they would like a discussion to be held, you know?
Yeah.
Give them the opportunity to give us some ideas as well.
Yeah, go to the Portsmouth Coffee Talk page. It's on, and it's called just that, and it's on Facebook. And you can make your comments, or you can go to each one of us individually on our Facebook page, or if you see us out there, you can talk to us about what you would like to see, especially if you watch and what you have enjoyed most. If you like the host talking, if you like the guest, and we try to bring guests that will share information that might be beneficial to all those who are watching in certain areas. Not everybody, you know, deals with the same thing, so we try to bring a variety of different subjects up. But there are subjects that are sort of worldly that everybody deals with, so we try to bring those up too. So we're soliciting your help in order for us to bring you what you want to see, and we will just look at it and see how we can make that happen. But we appreciate everybody who's been watching over the last 3 years. And we're not saying goodbye. We're just taking a break so we can reassess what we're doing and come back bigger and stronger. Because our main focus is you, yeah, the
Hmm,
audience out there. And we want to have something, quite honestly, we want to have something that's good and marketable.
right.
So when we come up here and say support us financially, we want to make sure that you get something for your buck. And I think we already give that to you, but we're going to find out what you want and what we need to do more in order for you to support us in those ways so we can do more out here in this community. Especially our focus is local, but we do talk about national uh, subjects. But locally, we want to be able to get out there and cover as much as we can and talk to you and bring you on here. So,
Mhm.
any comments from the host at this time?
No, I only think 3 years have gone by so quickly. My
Yes.
goodness, it's hard to believe that it's been 3 years, but we
If you
do
go
need to
back
be
and look at
assessed.
those
You
200
know?
videos, you can see.
Yeah, I know,
I
I know.
think our first video was with the health department, and
Right.
uh, yeah, the first video was with the health
Uh-huh.
department. Then we had the mayor on. He was mayor elect at the time, and
Uh-huh.
then we just went on from there. We had a series of trying to deal with the crime, and we had different people from the faith community, sheriff department. We never did get somebody from the police department, but we had different people, social work, and
Mhm.
of course, Dr. Duncan has been a
Right,
mainstay
right.
with us with a multitude of issues. So we will continue to do that, you know. But go back during those times when we're not. It might have been some videos you didn't see. And I go back from time to time and look at it and say, wow, that was kind of informative, especially if we get those health professionals. Like we had heart doctors up here. We've had a friend of the colonel was up here that was a retired doctor. Was he a retired
Yeah.
doctor, military?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm, Roberts.
Roberts, yeah.
Yeah.
Had him up here, and he was real relaxed. So we plan to have more of that, but maybe in a
Yes.
different.
So basically, the two R's I see what we've said is, well, we're going to relook at everything. Actually, three R's: relook at everything, refocus what we're going to carry forward and to renew our commitments to you.
Amen.
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 Because I
And that's in a nutshell.
in a nutshell, I think we have brought a lot. But anyway, we're gonna. That's our focus, and that's our
Yeah.
reason for taking a little hiatus in July, and we probably need a break anyway. You know, it's a lot going on with us personally, so sometimes you need to just step back. And I guess we'll do that every once in a while. Maybe I'll run some of our old videos on Facebook, on our Facebook page, and bring it to your attention so you can see, especially some of the ones that had some of the real high views. You know,
Mm-hmm.
the biggest view we got was like 4,000. Was when we talked about when I was in the casino. I think I interviewed you, not interviewed you, but talked to you, Leah. You were there, and they got like 4,000, over 4,000 views. There's, it had just opened. I guess
Yes,
people were interested
yes.
in where can I win some money. But anyway,
Mhm.
the next thing was like Cletus, when Cletus came on.
Cletus always. And now Cletus is on every morning that we're on now. So
Yeah. He's like, well, he was supposed to be on and off before we came on. Now he's
he's on the same
extended that,
time.
but,
He's on the same time.
he's a popular thing, but that's okay too. You know, it's competition is good too. We'll come back. Okay, thanks everybody. We appreciate it. And Portsmouth Coffee Talk is here for our voice.
Our community.
In our future.
Okay,
Okay,
thanks
everyone.
everybody. We'll see you next time. We'll see you when we come back.
All right.
Expect the something great.
Yes.
Yes.
All right.